Coming up tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, a new report says public pension costs are going down for many cities across the county.
And here's a riddle for you. A Republican and a Democrat walk into a polling booth. Now, neither votes for their party. Why not?
I'll have the answer later in the show.
KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Joanne Ferrian.
And I'm Peggy Pico in for Dwayne Brown.
A new report says child immunizations in San Diego County have fallen to their lowest level in 8 years. That statistic is part of an annual report card on children's health and social issues. The Children's Initiative analyzed vaccination rates from 2002 to 2009 and found that only 77% of the county's young children had completed the basic immunization series. They also found an increase in the number of elementary school children who had never been to a dentist. The report also finds a decrease in teen pregnancies and a drop in childhood obesity. Well, tonight the San Diego Unified School Board is learning how many jobs might be cut because of next year's budget deficit. More than 1,100 layoffs are proposed based on last month's state budget projections. Layoff notices have to be sent in March with the final list in May. But local assembly member Marty Block has introduced a bill to let the district negotiate a later deadline with the teachers union.
Another month of good news about San Diego's economy. The region's index of leading economic indicators is up for the third month in a row. Economist Alan Ginn says the January numbers were up at its highest level since June of 2008. But he says if gas prices remain high, we could see another slowdown. And the newest report on San Diego home prices says they fell again late last year, but just 0.7%. Standard & Poor's says home prices dropped nearly 5.5% overall in 2011. The agency tracks 20 housing markets for its Case-Shiller Index. And S&P spokesman says the story of the past 2 years is that the market is bottoming out, but it hasn't stabilized yet.
We have a follow-up tonight on the more than 150 people who were ousted from their North County Indian tribe. The North County Times reports the Bureau of Indian Affairs has recommended that 8 former members of the Paula Band of Mission Indians be readmitted. Last year, tribal leaders began disenrolling descendants of a woman named Margarita Britton. The tribe says she was only half Paula, and because of that, they say her descendants don't meet the heritage requirement. The BIA disagrees, saying Britton was full Indian and that her descendants should be back in the tribe. But it's only a recommendation, and the tribe does not have to follow it.
Scripps researchers have found that 8 of the most commonly prescribed sleeping pills significantly increase the risk of cancer and death. Scientists looked at nearly 40,000 patients. They found adults who take as few as 18 sleeping pills a year have 4 times higher risk of dying. And there was a 32% increase in the cancer cases among those who take sleeping pills every night. A ride on the amphibious assault vehicle can make even the toughest Marine sick to his stomach. So, of course, the Marine Corps wants to find a way to keep its troops from getting seasick during landings. Marines from Camp Pendleton are taking part in the effort. Researchers are hoping the next generation of these vehicles won't be as hard on the troops' stomach. VA medical centers across the country are being audited to see if they meet the mental health needs of veterans. The audit includes site visits to all VA hospitals with reviews of staffing, productivity levels, and of job vacancy rates. The VA says more than 500,000 of their patients have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. 100,000 PTSD patients are veterans of war in the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts. Tonight on the roundtable, after years of escalating pension costs, some cities are actually seeing their costs go down.
A new report by San Diego watchdog agency says several cities in San Diego County will see their pension costs go down. The analysis by the San Diego County Taxpayers Association looked at costs of pensions in 17 cities. And here to tell us what they found is Lonnie Lutar, President and CEO of the San Diego County Taxpayers Association. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Joanne.
So tell us what you wanted to find out when you started this study.
Well, we started with a study in 2009 to look at the comprehensive costs of pensions throughout the region, because so much attention has been paid to the city of San Diego and the county of San Diego, but we didn't know what the status was for all of the other cities, the 17 cities. So we have almost on an annual basis since then issued an update to see where the cities are at and whether they have also implemented some of the reform recommendations that the Taxpayers Association put out when we issued that initial study in 2009. Now, the good news, as you noted, is that we are seeing a number of cities that have decreased pension costs for the upcoming fiscal year.
And we're going to show that. We're going to put that up right now, some of these cities, starting with Solana Beach.
Yes, Solana Beach has a 12% decline. Imperial Beach will also see about an 11% reduction, and Lemon Grove a 7% decrease. A number of other cities also are going to see slight decreases, but at much more modest rates. But of course, what this means is that the cities are going to have a little bit more money to spend for other things rather than just pension costs. And this means if they've had cuts to their services, whether that means filling less potholes or library hours, rec center hours, that perhaps now the city councils will have a little bit more flexibility in their budgets for the upcoming year, which is great news. Wish I could say that that was the end of it, but we also, as part of our evaluation, looked at which cities are going to see increases, and there are a number of cities that will see increases. Del Mar is going to be the one that sees the most dramatic increase, with 15% increase compared to last year in pension costs.
So what did the cities that were able to get their costs down, what were sort of the two big things that they did?
The first thing that a number of cities have done is ask their employees to finally start paying a little bit towards, to have their employees finally start paying a little bit towards their pension costs. And this is astonishing to many people in the private sector to learn that in a number of these cities, their employees contribute nothing to their pension costs. That's finally changing, and you have employees that are going to start contributing a percentage of their paycheck towards pension costs. And that also results in immediate impacts to the city's budgets, because they can do that once they're in their negotiations with the labor groups. They can have that adopted almost immediately. The other reform that cities have been pursuing is to have their new employees go into lower cost pension plans. This is also a good thing for them to pursue, but unfortunately that doesn't result in the type of immediate budget impact.
It's more a long-term sort of thing.
But it's still very important, so we applaud those cities that have made those type of decisions to put new employees in lower cost pension plans.
I want to touch on the City of San Diego briefly. City of San Diego is not in this study, but we do know that the city spends roughly between 20 and 25% of its general revenue fund on its pension plan. We got that information from Vlad Kogan. He's co-author of Paradise Plundered. Now, your association supports and, in fact, helped craft the reform measure that's going to be on the ballot in June. And that really says to future employees, you will not have a guaranteed benefit. This is a 401k style plan. Is that the way your association would like to see future public benefits go, where it's not guaranteed?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So the Comprehensive Pension Reform Initiative, which is going to be on the June ballot for the City of San Diego residents, is something that we are very big proponents of and helped to sponsor. And the reason that we did that is because you have to approach this in a comprehensive manner, not just by putting new employees into a new pension plan, but at the City of San Diego, there are all kinds of various means by which pension costs can go up that have been adopted over the years. And so this Comprehensive Pension Reform Initiative attempts to, yes, put new employees into a 401k style plan, but it also ensures that those employees that are currently at the city will have their pension costs, their pension benefits, that is, based off of their base pay as opposed to all these add-ons. It's a very comprehensive measure. There's a lot more. But in terms of what we'd like to see with the other cities throughout the region, they also have limited options. And so in order to ensure that these pension systems are truly sustainable, we do believe that there will need to be either a statewide legislation that is passed, or a citizens' initiative will have to be patched, much like what we've done at the City of San Diego.
It's interesting you bring up a statewide initiative. We know that Jerry Brown has talked about that as well. So if we put politics aside, though, really the debate has been framed in this way, that somehow public sector employees should not have better pension benefits than private sector employees. And I'm wondering why we've never asked the opposite question. We know that from one study from UC Berkeley that 62% of all California workers don't have a pension plan through their employer. So why are we not asking the question, why don't private sector employees have better pensions? Why don't they strive to be more like public sector employees? Why are we asking that one question instead?
Well, I think what we used to see in the public sector was that there were greater benefits provided because the base pay was significantly less than the private sector. But what we have now observed is that there has been a significant shift, and in many cases for employee categories, public sector employees are receiving more in not only their base pay or salary, but they're receiving more in their salary and their benefits. And if you continue to do that, or if you don't reform and change the system, then you have a situation in which it's simply unsustainable. And what does that mean? That means that either cities are going to have to keep paying more into the system, and that means less money to provide basic city services, or that people will continue to see tax increase proposals, as we have seen in a number of communities throughout the region. Just in the city of San Diego, it was just proposed in 2010, as we know. So those are the options, and if it would be great to be able to have everything, but we know that that's not a reality.
I'm going to have to wrap it there. Lonnie Lutar, thanks so much for being here. We know this is an ongoing issue, and we're going to hear a lot more debate over this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanne.
The San Diego River estuary looks like a postcard picture from the shore, but get up close and it's quite a different view. Lots of trash that could wind up in San Diego Bay. That story in just a moment. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
On Nova, a disaster unfolds in gripping detail.
Flying along the coast is horrifying.
Now, eyewitness accounts and new evidence on the ground help scientists piece together the most complete picture yet of what triggered the catastrophe.
The energy that drove this earthquake had been building up for a couple of 100 years.
10 billion tons of water.
Reaching at times the speed of a jet aircraft.
An in-depth investigation of Japan's killer quake.
Wednesday at 9 on KPBS.
Hi, I'm Elsa Sevilla. If you find yourself hearing about a great program on KPBS after it's already aired, we have a solution. Get notified about your favorite TV programs on KPBS before they air by subscribing to the TV Highlights email alert. This daily email will feature the best programs coming up right here on KPBS TV, so you can make a date to tune in or plan to record it. It's easy to register. Just go to kpbs.org/alerts.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Remember this sight from last November? Crews transforming the deck of the USS Carl Vinson into a basketball court for the Carrier Classic. President Barack Obama came out for the college game last Veterans Day. Organizers of the game say San Diego won't get a repeat this year. But it's not because they don't like the city. They won't be here because a ship won't be available this fall. The organizers are hoping to come back to San Diego in 2013. Once a year, a group of volunteers are given permission to clean up a unique stretch of the San Diego River. KPBS environment reporter Ed Joyce says you can't tell from the shoreline, but the area is packed with an amazing amount of garbage.
The Southern Wildlife Preserve stretches along 3 miles of the San Diego River west of the Interstate 5 bridge and south of SeaWorld. It's one of the last urban estuaries of its type remaining in California. This section of the river is home to endangered birds and a stop on the Pacific Flyway. On this early Sunday morning, 54 volunteers are using kayaks and canoes to clean up the river while others collect litter along the shoreline.
We are going to take the kayaks out and do a little bit of cleaning up the trash that's floating in the water on the estuary. This is it's a wildlife preserve, part of the Southern Wildlife Preserve, but we get special permission once a year outside of nesting season to make sure we can go in there and get everything out, last chance before it hits the ocean.
Rob Hutzel with the San Diego River Park Foundation says only 5% of the original coastal wetlands remain in California, and this is one of those areas. It's also home to endangered birds.
One of those is the clapper rail, which is a very endangered species of bird that lives right out here. There's just few hundred of them in the world, and we're fortunate to have few of them. It's also just an area that's beautiful. It's part of Mission Bay Park, and people come by, tens of thousands of people on a summer day come through here, and you don't want to see trash out there. You know, all of those good reasons.
Which is one reason the volunteers are navigating the thick reeds in the estuary to remove tennis balls, plastic bottles, and other trash.
Collecting garbage. Everywhere you look, there can be garbage.
And you've already found a...
Yeah, recycling and garbage. We separate it. This is garbage, and this is recycling.
And you're only about 15 minutes into starting to pick stuff up, and already you got those bags of
It's amazing where you don't actually see it, it's there. It's been in the water so long, it looks like part of the water. But it doesn't decompose or biodegrade.
There's a lot of tennis balls people are finding so far this morning in the river. These are just two of many. It's a little thicker in here, so it's not quite as easy to paddle through to get to some of this trash, but that's why they do this special cleanup once a year with special permission to come into this part of the San Diego River estuary to pick up this trash. You can't really see a lot of this trash from the shoreline, but once you get in a boat and get into the river, there's a lot of it here.
I found a lid. Does that count for a drink?
You really can't see just how much trash and litter is in the reeds of the estuary until you get in the water. Unfortunately, sites like this are far too common in this pristine section of the San Diego River. We find lots of plastic bottles, a lot of these alcohol bottles, a Frisbee. This plastic trash in the San Diego River in this part of the estuary is far, far too common. Matt Cochran of Poway is finding his share of plastic and other trash.
I've got the makings of a bed set, 2 pillows. I have about, 20 tennis balls. A little over. I've got 3 flip-flops, a whole bunch of bottles, plastic, glass, styrofoam, plastic bags. Found a whole lunch.
It's Cochran's second year pulling trash from the estuary. He plans to offload his full boat and then head back out to collect even more. Rob Hutzel with the River Park Foundation says the 3-mile estuary serves as a sort of barometer for the overall health of the river.
It's the end of the pipe, and so it really tells you kind of how the health of the rest of the river is doing. All of the stuff that's pollutants in the river eventually washes down here, and so it kind of tells us how healthy it is.
He says they're seeing less trash in the river, but still the overall water quality for the river rates a C grade. Here's this year's numbers from the estuary cleanup. The 54 volunteers removed 1,200 pounds of trash, 107 pounds of recyclables, such as plastic, and the most unusual item was a message in a bottle.
That was KPBS environment reporter Ed Joyce. You can see a slideshow of the cleanup and more information on how you can volunteer on our website, kpbs.org. Now, remember that riddle we told you about the Democrat and the Republican and not voting for their party? Joanne has the answer on the roundtable.
For the first time since approving Proposition 14, California voters will be voting in an open primary this June. That means Democrats can vote for Republicans and Republicans can vote for Democrats. Joining me to talk about what this means and how it could shake up the California political scene are Deborah Seiler, San Diego County Registrar of Voters, and Carl Luna, Professor of Political Science at Mesa College. Thank you both for being here.
Nice to be here.
Deborah, I want to begin with you. So for the voter, getting their ballot, what are the big changes? What will they see or not see?
When the voter goes into the polls, they'll see, first of all, a contest for president. That will be the contest related to their political party. So if they're a Democrat, they will see the Democratic candidates for president. If they're a Republican, they'll see the Republican candidates for president. But then down on the ballot, they'll see what are now called voter-nominated offices, and where these are congressional offices, state legislative offices, where these used to be restricted to that voter's political party. Now they will be a combination of all the candidates running in that primary election, which will include Democrats and Republicans.
And we still have our nonpartisan offices as well, municipal elections.
That is correct. And the nonpartisan offices are unchanged for this election.
Okay, so now, Carl, how could this affect California politics?
The hope is by giving voters more choice, more will show up to vote. Independents will come out in the primary election who might sit it out in a closed primary. And since anybody can vote for anybody, you might have to appeal more toward moderate candidates, toward independents. So you get 2 Democrats who win in one district. They go to the general election, the Democrat that can get independents and even moderate Republicans to vote for them has a better chance to win. So that's the hope, more moderation and more turnout.
So, Deborah, we could actually see that then. Let's take, for example, the 52nd congressional race. We have Brian Bilbray, the incumbent. He's a Republican. We have some well-known Democrats running against him, Lori Saldana, Scott Peters. Could we see the result of that primary having 2 Democrats run against each other in the general election?
We certainly could. Anything is possible, depending on how the voters sway in that primary election, because they could all go behind the 2 top Democrats, or they could divide it and switch between the Republicans and the Democrats.
So is it the top 2 vote getters, or if you have, say, in a congressional race, someone actually getting 50% plus 1, do they win, or do you still go to the general election?
They still go to the general election, unlike the nonpartisan contest, where, for example, County Board of Supervisor, a supervisor could win outright in the primary election if they get 50% plus 1 vote. But under the top 2 primary election for these other offices, the top 2 vote getters, regardless of party and regardless of the margin between the top 2, go forward onto the November ballot.
Now, Carl, you talked about sort of more moderate politics, and we're sort of seeing how the opposite is playing itself out, right, with the GOP and who the Republicans are trying to appeal to. So is this a good thing in the end? Is it a good thing to blur the lines between political parties?
The American system of government is based on consensus. For anything to get done, people have to agree somewhere in the middle. When you're really polarized, like in Sacramento, where our primaries have sent forth very liberal Democrats and very conservative Republicans in these closed primaries or blanket primaries, you don't get much done, as we've seen for many years, both in Sacramento and in Washington. So the hope is this will make things more moderate. People will be able to agree. I'm not certain this will work. This is like the 5th time we've changed our primaries trying to achieve that goal. The voters keep on defeating the purpose.
So why did we do it now? I mean, what brought about Proposition 14?
Well, decades of struggle, in the last decade of political paralysis trying to deal with the long-term budget issues, major state policy. The hope is you get enough moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats who can come together to agree to maybe a little bit of tax increase, a little bit of spending cuts. We'll see if the voters will play along with that.
We haven't got a lot of time left, Deborah, but I wanted to touch on one more thing in light of what's happening in Michigan right now. So we do have some crossover voting as well, don't we, in terms of the primary and the presidential race?
Yes, that is correct. The Democratic Party and the American Independent Party have opened up their primary to nonpartisan, or we used to call them declined to state voters. And so those voters, when they go into the polls, they could either request just a straight ballot, or they could ask for the Democratic Party ballot or the American Independent Party ballot and vote in their presidential contest.
Can't wait to see how all this turns out in June. Thank you so much, Deborah Seiler and Carl Luna.
Thank you.
We've got more on the debate over pension costs coming up in just a moment. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, primary voters in Michigan and Arizona go to the polls as the stakes climb higher in the race for the Republican nomination. That's Tuesday on the PBS News Hour. The American people have named PBS
the most trusted source of news and public affairs for the 8th year in a row. Trust. The American people have spoken.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Peter Marshall.
And I'm Nick Clooney with another edition of My Music from the glorious Big Band era.
This time, we're going to focus on the great singers and remember the songs that they made famous.
Night and day.
Music is timeless. It's my music. The Big Band vocalist right here on PBS.
Saturday at 6 on KPBS.
Welcome back to the Public Square on KPBS Evening Edition. Earlier, you heard Lonnie Lutar from the San Diego County Taxpayers Association talk about pension costs for cities throughout the county. We asked Lorena Gonzalez, the head of the San Diego and Imperial Valley Labor Council, for a comment with regard to the pension study. In an email, Gonzalez writes, "There's no question that it's important to budget responsibly and restrain runaway costs, and we applaud cities that have addressed that situation at the bargaining table, where these negotiations belong. But let's not forget that unfunded liabilities are the self-fulfilling prophecy for corporate interest groups like this so-called Taxpayers Association, devoted to reducing and eliminating revenue options. Instead of veiled attempts at forcing struggling San Diegans to accept below bottom dollar for their work, maybe we should talk about how to finally give all San Diegans a chance to earn a decent living." And I want to tell you about a segment we're working on for tomorrow. We told you earlier about that big sleeping pill study that says people who take sleep aids have a higher risk of death and cancer. We will have the author of that study on the show tomorrow to talk more about his findings. Well, if you have a question or a comment about the pension story or anything else we reported today, you can email me, jferrian@kpbs.org, and you're always invited to follow us on Twitter or, of course, like us on Facebook. And now let's go back to the news desk where Peggy has a recap of tonight's top stories.
A new report on children's health in San Diego County finds fewer children are getting vaccines, fewer teens are getting pregnant, and more children are living in poverty. The report was issued today by the Children's Initiative. And there's a warning about sleeping pills from researchers at Scripps. They say just 18 pills a year gives you 4 times a higher risk of dying. And their cancer rate among nightly sleeping pill users is 32% higher than those people who do not use sleep medication. And 2 new reports give 2 different views of our economy. One, on the positive side, is an economist at the University of San Diego says the region's leading economic indicators are up for the 3rd month in a row. But on the other hand, Standard & Poor's report another month of decline for local home prices. You can watch and comment on any of the stories you saw tonight on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening, and we'll leave you with a look at the forecast.